Hi guys! If you can hear me, see me, and you like how I'm pretending to wear my Fiveable shirt because I forgot to wash it yesterday, so we just put a button on my regular shirt, say something in the chat. Let's see, who do we have here today? We have Harper, Tanya, WC, Rhea, Maribel, Rose, Liam, and Roshan. Wow, that's like, I think we had 4 or 5 people last week at this, so 8's a lot more. 8's an improvement. And we have 15 people registered, so this will be nice. This will be nice. If you guys can hear me, please put something in the chat so I know that I'm not just talking to myself. All right, I see a hey, a hi, so we're perfect. We're gonna get started. All right, Tanya, I think you were just learning about the Cold War with Jed and Charlie, right? In the lab stream, yeah. Yep, see, I know everything. I also may or may not have been watching that stream in the background on the Fiveable account, but we're not gonna talk about that. Hello? Can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello? You don't hear a thing. Yeah, mine's showing audio output, so maybe try, like, if you're on your phone, turn up the volume, and if you're on your laptop, try, like, closing the tab, reopening it. That might help. I don't know. Yep, refreshing is always good. So yesterday, I hope that you guys came, but I had an IG live stream for Fiveable on the Think Fiveable Instagram account, and I went over how to do a design and experiment FRQ, and I did an example one. We're going to try to get that replay uploaded to Instagram somehow, but we can't figure out a way to get a 60-minute video on Instagram without it taking 6 days to upload, so we're working on it. I'll let you know because I'm doing this FRQ with you again on the 2019 FRQs next Wednesday. So you'll be seeing more of me. Awesome. So I really hope that you guys were able to watch it. It was really fun. It's not just like a normal boring stream since we actually got to like interact on Instagram. So let's get started today. Today I want to do proposed environmental solution FRQ again. And if I can find one in 2019, I'm going to try to get a design and experiment FRQ again. So Tanya, in the chat, I went live on Instagram yesterday with Fiveable, and I did a design and experiment APES FRQ. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Design and experiment APES FRQ, and I went through the process of writing a hypothesis, all of the different parts of the design and experiment FRQ. I think I did an example one on air pollution and then on IPM. I think you guys are going to be able to view it. We're trying to get it to upload to Instagram somehow, but it's having problems since the video is 60 minutes long. It said it was going to take, when I first tried to upload it to IGTV, it said it was going to take me 19 hours and 47 minutes, and I was like, no, we're going to have to figure out something else. So maybe we might just post on the Fiveable website like a regular stream, but we'll see. I'll update you guys at our next FRQ review next Wednesday. But I've already wasted 3 minutes and 25 seconds, so let's get started with this FRQ. So as always, our weekly stream calendar. So obviously we don't have any of the bonus streams like the one you're watching right now, any of our FRQ reviews on this stream calendar, but this is just our basic Fiveable, like our evening streams that we've had since the dawn of time. And by the dawn of time, I mean when Amanda started these streams in 2018. But I was born in 2004, so that was like when I was, 14 years old. So that's basically like the dawn of time. Here we have at Think Fiveable with a new logo page with TikTok this time. Yes, my request got put through. We have TikTok on the Think Fiveable social media page. But also make sure to follow us on Instagram to see any more Instagram lives for the classes that you're in. There's also a Twitter and YouTube page. We're working on a giant YouTube project right now. But we're uploading all of our streams to YouTube, so that might be where you see the Instagram live first. We might be doing Instagram lives on uploading the replays to YouTube. So today, I kind of want to start like I did last week, talking about the 2020 exam again, give you guys some updates that we got yesterday from the College Board. Then I want to look at the CED for just a few minutes. I went really in depth for like 15 minutes talking about what could be on your FRQs in the last stream. So if you want to go watch that replay, I've time stamped it, time tagged it, however you say it, and to where you can easily just watch the segment on like me looking at the course and exam description. And then I'll review This says 2017, but it should say 2018, but I don't know how to type, so we're going to ignore that. And then I'll give you some final tips about FRQs. And then this one's going to be a little shorter than last week, so I'm going to have a little bit of time for questions too, since we aren't having any more APES Q&A streams. All right. This might be my last APES stream for Fiveable for a while. I know, it's sad. Or it might be happy for you guys. I don't know. Depends on how much you like me. All right. So the 2020 APES FRQ is going to be online. It's going to be units 1 through 7, but you probably already know that. You also probably already know that it's going to be open note. And there are going to be 2 FRQs. The first one is design and investigation. This one is about writing a hypothesis, designing an experiment, finding a control group, dependent variables, independent variables. It's going to be about potential responses to environmental problems, and you design an investigation to see how. And then your second FRQ, they probably won't be related. They could, but there you're going to have to propose and justify solutions for environmental problems. So, looking at units 3 through 7 of the course and exam description, because they could have one from 1 through 9, but I can't find what I'm looking at right here in 1 through 9. Basically, this colorful chart might be a poster that your teacher has in their room. It's called the course and exam description, the CED. So there are different key concepts kind of that you need to know for the APES course that can be on the APES exam, and they have a description of what do you need to learn in each of these different key concepts with bullet points and stuff. But there's 2 different little science practice tag things on here. Think of these as the posts, and then those science practices are the hashtags. So we're looking for anything with hashtag environmental solutions for your proposed environmental solution FRQ, and we're looking at anything with hashtag science experiments for design and investigation. They could choose something that's not in one of these 2 categories. That's definitely a possibility. I'm not saying that the FRQ will have to be on one of these topics, but there's a greater than 50% chance that something in these hashtag sections, the science practice sections, will be your FRQ topic. Sorry about the lighting. I'm right next to 2 windows today, and the sun is out and shining. So we're living. So Tanya says, just want to double check, but has anyone found out when we're going to get walked through how to submit the exam? So the College Board published an update today, and basically they're doing an AP exam demo day on May 4th. Your teacher should send you information on it if you're self-studying in our next stream next Wednesday, which actually might be May 4th. I don't know how to count, but it's not. It's not May 4th. May 4th is next Monday. So Monday, the College Board is having an AP exam demo day where you can go onto their website. You're going to practice how to submit and upload FRQ responses. I'll go over that a little bit more at the end of the stream if there are not a ton of questions from people too, though, Tanya. But back to the course and exam description, there are these different, topics that have these certain key tags. So looking in the Unit 3 population unit, Unit 3.8, human population dynamics, has the environmental solutions hashtag. So what that means is you might have a proposed environmental solution FRQ looking at how do we control human population growth? What is the CBR of XYZ country? How does TFR affect the growth rate of the country? Those kind of questions. How can we reduce the TFR of a country? What economic incentive could we give to reduce the crude birth rate of a country? You're going to be asked those kinds of questions if you get a population environmental solutions FRQ. From Unit 4, we're mainly looking at the hashtag scientific experiments section. So we're looking at soil formation, erosion, and soil composition and properties. So soil could definitely be a topic for your design and investigation. Here in Unit 5, we have a ton of things that are tagged with environmental solutions, and we have 2 things that are tagged with scientific experiments. So we'll look at those first. So basically, methods to reduce urban runoff, and a section, pesticides, that actually gets cut off at the bottom here, is about scientific experiments. So you could probably have a scientific design and experiment on things about urbanization, sustainability, and then you could have one on, if I could think of it, I'm looking at it, but it won't come to my mind. You could have one on sustainability or pesticide agriculture methods. There we go. Just needed to reboot myself for a second. Unit 6, you're looking at fossil fuels and then different types of renewable energy as types of proposed environmental solutions. So they might ask you about how can I have an environmental solution by reducing the use of fossil fuels like biomass and fossil fuels and replace them with renewable energy sources like down here. The only problem with that I see is that there's probably not going to be like heavy energy math, like there's probably not going to be a ton of dimensional analysis on your exam. What I'm saying is there probably won't be any dimensional analysis, or like there probably won't be any hard math on your exam at all. The most they can have you do without a calculator is going to be addition and subtraction, maybe some multiplication like 2 times 4 or 5 times 5, but like that's the most math that they can have you do. So they're probably not going to have energy probably isn't going to be their first choice topic, because with energy, as we'll see in the 2018 FRQs, they love to have the math with energy, like the work, BTUs, etc. Harper says, what about 514 through 517? Yeah, those are all different proposed environmental solution FRQ possibilities. Unit 5 has a very high chance of being your proposed environmental solution. I like to look at ones that aren't Unit 5 because you're going to study that. And basically agriculture, how do we get food? How do we, have different practices in agriculture and clear cutting trees, deforestation? How can we make those practices more sustainable? Could probably be one of your proposed environmental solution FRQ topics. And I just realized this is tiny and you probably can't read it. I'm sorry, let me fix that right now for you. There, hopefully you can see. Yeah, so Unit 7 could probably be a very strong contender for the design and experiment FRQ. It has three different tags for design and experiment. So there could be something about acid rain. You could be asked to test the pH of water, the pH of soil. There's introduction to air pollution, which is basically just talking about all the different air pollutants. What's a primary pollutant? What's a secondary pollutant? Yesterday in the design and investigation FRQ, I looked at one that was talking about photochemical smog, ozone, and nitrous oxide, NOx. So Unit 7 could definitely be your design and investigation, but so could Unit 4. Or your design and investigation could be any unit, but Unit 4 and 7 are definitely the two that I would study for that FRQ. And if you notice on this first slide, if I could go find it right here, design and investigation is weighted at 60%. Your first FRQ is longer and is 60% of your score. The proposed environmental solution is only 40% of your score, and it's only 15 minutes. So if you only study for one FRQ, I would definitely try to study for the design and experiment. It might also be easier to earn points on, because with design and investigation, that should honestly be your easier FRQ. For that one, you really just need to know about the scientific method, how to write a hypothesis. There will be other questions on the design and investigation, but those will make up half of the score of that FRQ, and then the actual investigation experiment part will be the other half of your score on that FRQ. As I said, I talked about all of that in the Instagram live yesterday. We're trying to get it uploaded somewhere, but I'll let you guys know as soon as I know anything. But back to Unit 7, there could also be a Unit 7 proposed environmental solution FRQ with reduction of air pollution. How do we decrease air pollution? What's a solution? How can we make things more sustainable? Air pollution could definitely connect to energy resources for your proposed environmental solution FRQ. The way that you would see these is probably about reducing air pollution with fossil fuels. That's the way that you would see energy on your exam. You probably won't be asked to design an investigation about energy. That's one of the biggest, you probably won't be asked to design an investigation about Unit 6 or Unit 3. All of the other units are basically fair game for design and investigation, but those two are kind of like, don't really know a ton of what you could design an investigation about, if you get what I'm saying. So hopefully that helped you guys understand some of the things that could be on your exam, that could be on your FRQs. Hopefully it gave you some ideas of what do I need to study the most. If I don't know these things, then I'm probably not going to do well on the exam, etc. So really you're going to want to understand the whole concept of air pollution. What are the pollutants? For energy, you're going to want to look at how can we make our energy use more sustainable? How can we decrease dependence on fossil fuels? For Unit 5, you're going to want to look at overfishing, mining, agriculture and how do we use pesticides in agriculture, how do we use crop rotation, integrated pest management, things like that. But then with Unit 5, you're also going to want to look at solutions to urbanization problems. We could have high population density leads to high disease spread rates, things like that. With Unit 4, you're going to want to know a lot about soil. Soil is a very strong contender to be on your FRQs. It is. Make sure you study soil in Unit 4. If you don't study the atmosphere, study it here. Study it in air pollution. And then Unit 3, you could definitely see a proposed environmental solution about human population dynamics. Like Tanya said, Unit 3 doesn't look as likely to show up, only that one. But see, it doesn't matter how many things are tagged in the unit. That's just the different key concepts that are tagged. I could have an FRQ on population be just as likely as an FRQ on any Unit 5 topic like agriculture, because human population dynamics is a big part of the course, but a lot of classes overlook the population unit. I'm not going to get into that whole situation right now, but like, if your class didn't cover the population unit, you're not alone. A lot of teachers choose not to cover it, to skip it and go farther in the course, which is kind of dumb because it's like the easiest unit and it's stuff that's covered in AP Human Geography and other AP classes, humanities. So it's not like it's a, yeah. But human population dynamics could definitely be an FRQ. My only thing, my only contention with having a human population dynamics FRQ would be that they've had 3 population FRQs in the past 5 years. So they kind of use population a lot, especially since every unit is 10 to 15% of the exam. Rhea and Harper both ask, what do you think is the most likely units for proposed solution? So if 4 and 7 are the most likely, this is not 7, this is, if 4 and 7 are the most likely units for design and investigation, basically any of these units are fair game for proposed environmental solution. Really, the only unit that's probably not going to be a proposed environmental solution is Unit 4, unless they talk about how you can, fix different problems with aquifers and watersheds, but those are really Unit 5 topics anyways. So you're not going to just see Unit 4 on your proposed environmental solution. So 3, 5, 6, 7 are probably units for your proposed solution, and 4 and 7 are your most likely units for design and investigation. Now, by saying that, I'm not saying that those are the only units that could be on your exam. Of course, they could come up with something from Unit 1 and 2 that, they're trying to talk about Unit 9, but not really saying Unit 9 because it's not on the exam, and they're trying to put it through Units 1 and 2. Like, there could be that happening. We have seen much more unexpected things in AP exams, but really, this is where you want to focus your studying. Don't not study Units 1 and 2. You need to know what the theory of island biogeography is. You need to know what the ecosystem services are, and you need to know what, I can't even think of any more Unit 1 topics. See, this is how unprepared I am. Can't even think of a Unit 1 topic. I mean, you don't really need an overview of Units 8 and 9 for the exam because they're not going to be on the exam, but definitely study 1 and 2 just a tiny bit less than 3 through 7. Because 3 through 7 are really like the big, main, like heavy ideas of the course. Tanya's listing all of my Unit 1 topics there, so maybe I should just invite her up on screen and have her take over the stream. But moving on to an FRQ, for real this time, even though we're 18 minutes in. So FRQ number 1 is about carbon footprints, living roofs, and reducing carbon emissions. This one is not really fitting into any of the FRQ topics that are this year, so we're not going to look at this one together. This FRQ number 2, you can see it has a big gray box right here. That's because under that big gray box, there's a ton of scary energy math, so we're not going to look at that either. The only way, if you guys want to look at this on your own, I would say take a picture. This could be like a reduced version of your proposed environmental solution FRQ because it's talking about environmental and economic benefits. This would be, your solution would be an offshore wind project, and this would be describing different solutions. So this might be a short one just to practice on your own if you have like 10, 15 minutes of free time. Maybe as you're studying Unit 6, you practice with 2018 FRQ 2, but only go up to Part C. Don't even look at the scary energy math stuff because, yeah. 2018 FRQ 3, This one is my second choice to go over with you guys, and this is what I was talking about how Unit 1 and 2 can be on the exam, because this one is kind of a crossover from Units 1 and 2 and Unit 9, because you have like looking at food webs, food chains, different types of consumers, and like who gets energy, the 10% rule. You're looking at that, but you're also looking about sea level rise. You're also looking at sea ice melting, habitat destruction. Those are really Unit 9 topics. So 2018 FRQ 3 is a way that they could put Unit 9 on your exam without you even knowing. So it doesn't really help you to go over this FRQ because it is Unit 9 topics, but just know that the College Board can do, shady things for you and not make you happy on your AP exam. So with this one, you don't need to focus on studying this one. The one that I want to go over with you guys is 2018 FRQ 4. This one is a proposed environmental solution FRQ for indoor air pollution. Let's go back to our wonderful, colorful CED poster thing right here. We have Unit 7, atmospheric pollution, reduction of air pollutants, and indoor air pollutants. Now, Harper says College Board really is going to do us dirty. It might happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying it could happen. You have reduction of air pollutants, which we're looking at in this FRQ. Identify a method for reducing exposure to pollutants. Reducing air pollutants. Reducing exposure to air pollutants. Hello, we're twins. We're twins. Yes, sir. I am me. And see how they're incorporating the topic of indoor air pollutants, like I'm incorporating the topic of TikToks into our stream. They're looking at, like, this one is a number 5. So this one is data analysis for indoor air pollutants, but it's not the point of the FRQ. The point is reduction of air pollutants, but they're including the topic of indoor air pollutants. So this is why you need to study the whole course, but these are going to be your specific questions about making the experiment. This is going to be the specific questions about proposing an environmental solution. So back to FRQ number 4. So I want to work through this together with you guys. I don't want to have you necessarily write it. I'm not going to do anything on the community like I did last time because that just seemed to take a lot of time. So we're kind of going to work on this together a little bit. So let me see if I can break this up into 2 slides real quick and make this bigger so you might actually have a chance at reading it. So I'll break this up into part 1 and 2. So part 2 is going to be about indoor air pollutants in developed countries, and part 1 is going to be about indoor air pollutants in developing countries. Here we go. Hopefully this works. Hopefully this will help you see it better. It's a little blurry, but it's bigger. Wow, Tanya already has a response, and I haven't even read the question yet. In many parts of the world, biomass like peat, wood, and animal waste is burned indoors for cooking and home heating. Combustion of these fuels releases harmful household air pollutants that pose a health threat to billions of people, mostly in less developed countries. So first off, we see, can I change the color of this pointer? I don't really like that color. No, okay, I can't, whatever, that's fine. We're not going to complain anymore. So mostly in less developed countries. So like I said, part 1 is going to be about developing less developed countries, but part 2 is going to be about more developed countries. And this is going to be the real part with proposing an environmental solution. I like the colorful flowing all over the, presentation. So air pollutants are released during the burning of biomass indoors for cooking and heating. So part 1 says identify 2 air pollutants released during the burning of biomass indoors for cooking and heating. That's a mouthful. So let's see what Tanya said. Tanya said 2 indoor air pollutants are methane and tropospheric ozone. She said correction, methane, and CO2. Okay, so basically you can say CO2 is a pollutant in anything, like literally CO2 is a pollutant involved in every pollution that they ask about on the AP exam. So you could definitely talk about, methane. And you could also definitely talk about CO2. Really, it's not CO2 as much as it is CO, but it's still fine. It's still a fine response. Yeah, so really it's going to be more carbon monoxide than carbon dioxide for cooking indoors, because when you have fires, you do have carbon dioxide. But, so Harper asked what would be another one besides methane. Literally, you can name half the air pollutants that you talk about in this class. You could name CO2, methane, CO, particulate matter, PM. That one, PM, particulate matter, was the most named pollutant. I'm looking at the scoring guidelines and I'm talking to you guys about this too, so I kind of am cheating a little bit, but have to refresh myself. So the air pollutant most listed by students was particulate matter and CO, carbon monoxide. So methane and CO2 were also both acceptable, as well as VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Tanya says, wow, I didn't get the most common answers. Okay, you don't have to get the most common answers to get the question right. You can say any answer and get the question right. Those are just what most people said. Just because most people do something doesn't mean that it's the correct way to do it. It's still the correct answer. It's still a good answer, just not the one that most people said. There's no problem with it. So now, Harper, since you have been responding to Tanya this whole time, I want to have you see if you can identify a specific human respiratory illness that one of the pollutants you identified may cause. So you can use methane, CO2, carbon monoxide, or particulate matter. Can you tell me any respiratory illness that any of those pollutants may cause in the chat, Harper? Can you? I'll give you another 10 seconds to type it out. It doesn't have to be a fully fleshed out sentence. You can just say CO, da-da-da. Okay, so asthma maybe. Now, which pollutant would you link asthma to? You could say any of them, but pick one. There are, of those 4, you can pick 3 of them that are correct. So you have a 75% chance of getting it right. So now that you've said the respiratory illness, you need to link it to the pollutant. To get the point for this section, you need to say the respiratory disease and then link it to the pollutant. And you have to get both right to get the point. For the first part, I forgot to say this, you get 1 point for identifying both of them. So it's an all or nothing question. So Harper says CO2. Okay. I inhale CO2 every day and I don't have lung cancer or asthma. Yes, Harper says CO. Carbon monoxide causes carbon monoxide poisoning. And that's when you inhale carbon monoxide, too much of it, and then, oh, I forgot what they're called. There are these little sacs on your lungs, on the outside. I think they're called alveoli or something like that. Somebody please correct me because I know I'm doing something wrong. And the carbon monoxide enters your bloodstream where the oxygen is supposed to enter your bloodstream. And then the carbon monoxide will constrict your hemoglobin in the blood vessels. And then basically your blood will kind of stop pumping and you will lose oxygenated blood, which will basically make your heart say, I don't have any more energy to keep pumping blood through this body. And no, my screen's not frozen. I was pretending to be dead, so please don't freak out. So CO, carbon monoxide, causes carbon monoxide poisoning. So you can't get lung cancer from just inhaling CO2 because CO2 is in our normal atmosphere. You inhale CO2 every day. When I breathe out, I'm exhaling CO2 because there's CO2 in my body. Everybody has CO2 in their body. Not everybody gets lung cancer and asthma. So that wasn't the top choice. The reader said that was okay, but not great. What causes lung cancer? What are some illnesses that can be caused by the pollutants? So with carbon monoxide, you get carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon dioxide doesn't have a specific respiratory illness. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide is less of an air pollutant. It's more of a greenhouse gas. So if your teachers did Unit 9, you kind of got the understanding of that, but if they didn't, it kind of, it's kind of still questionable with you. Units 8 and 9 really tie the whole course together and clear up any misconceptions about things, which is why I'm sad that they're off the exam, but yeah, so Tanya, CO2 poisoning is what you get when you die from suffocating. So basically, CO2 poisoning happens a lot in developing countries, especially in the Middle East. when it's warm during the summer and I have all the doors closed to my house because I want to keep it cool in my house, but I turn on a fire to cook food for my family. After the CO2 is emitted from the combustion of the fire, you die because, your body's just getting suffocated in carbon dioxide and you can't breathe in carbon dioxide poisoning. You can't breathe in carbon dioxide. You can't breathe in oxygen, so you get carbon dioxide poisoning. Whew. That took way too long for me to figure out how to say that. So with carbon monoxide, you get carbon monoxide poisoning, carbon dioxide poisoning. And then particulate matter, PM, there's 5 different options you could choose for this one. You could choose asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, such as COPD. You've probably seen medical commercials for it. Emphysema, bronchitis, and lung cancer. So that's what you can get with particulate matter. With methane, they accepted bronchitis or lung cancer. And then with VOCs, volatile organic compounds, they accepted bronchitis, asthma. CO2 and carbon monoxide poisoning were a correct answer as long as you linked them to the correct pollutant. If you said CO2 poisoning with carbon monoxide, no points. But if you said carbon monoxide with carbon monoxide poisoning, you got the point. So you just really need to make sure that you match up the pollutant with the illness. And basically, if you want a safe bet, particulate matter is basically a pollutant in like burning fossil fuels. It's from burning biomass too. So that one's kind of like I can pick what I want from that one. That one's the kind of the buffet one. I can say asthma or lung cancer or emphysema or COPD or bronchitis. So you kind of have to be more specific when you use other specific pollutants like SOx, NOx, carbon monoxide. But when you use particulate matter, PM, there are a lot more choices because it does a lot of nasty things. And there are also different sizes of particulate matter, but the College Board doesn't expect you to know all of the differences. So now we're going to identify one realistic approach other than banning the practice of biomass indoors that could be used to reduce the impact of biomass combustion indoors on human health. Describe how this approach could reduce the incidence of respiratory illnesses. Does anybody have any ideas for how to, reduce the impact besides banning? Does anybody have any ideas? If you can give me the idea, I can give you the describe. See if you can identify it. I can help you describe it. So other than banning burning of biomass, what could you guys do? So other than banning burning biomass indoors, what could you do? See what word I emphasized in that sentence? Perfect, Tanya. You said your response is almost exactly what is written, like you listed the things in the exact order that the AP rubric has them. So Tanya said, another solution to limit the impact of burning combustion indoors is for the government to promote other renewable heat and energy sources. So the College Board rubrics says promote different renewable heat and energy sources, such as solar, natural gas, biogas, and electric. So how can I describe how this approach would reduce the illness? When I use solar or electric or cooking stoves, I am producing almost no indoor air pollutants, reducing the risk of getting a respiratory illness because there are less indoor air pollutants. Bam, done, check, 100. How many points was that? 2 out of 2 points. Boom. All right, this FRQs are going by pretty fast. In 2016, approximately 4 million people died from illnesses attributed to household air pollutants from burning biomass indoors. More than 10% of these deaths occurred in children under the age of 5 in less developed countries. Discuss one reason children under the age of 5 are at a greater risk than adults for illnesses linked to indoor air pollutants. So before we give an answer to this response, what's a reason? Like the first reason, what is the reason why children get sick less than adults? Yes, Tanya, you're right. Tanya has said the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Tanya has sent the last 13 most recent chats. So if anybody else wants to chime in, I'm okay with that. You know, I don't want 13 in a row. It's fine. I'm great. You're interacting, but go Tanya. But I would love to see. Let's see who else is here. We have Harper, WC, Ben, Rhea, Alondra, Maribel, Liam, and Roshan. I've seen most of you guys in the chat. Oh, and Nelson, and closed. And then we also have Nelson and Joyce and Annabelle, Willow, Neil, Julia, Rose, and Safira. So I've seen most of you guys in the chat, but I would love it if you guys would talk more besides just asking questions. Alondra says Tanya needs to help us out with this exam. Okay, but I don't care if you're wrong as long as you give an idea. So the problem why children get diseases so many more times than adults is because we have lowered immune systems. Our bodies aren't fully developed, so we have lowered immune systems. And you would just have to discuss that. For this question, it was an all or nothing, so you couldn't just identify it, you actually had to discuss it. So if you just identified children have lower immune systems than adults, period, no points. But if you said children have lower immune systems than adults because they have a lower body mass and are less developed than adults, children usually, XYZ, and they get diseases more. So there, that could be your discuss. So, right, perfect. So let's move on to part 2 of this FRQ. We're done with less developed countries. We're talking about in more developed countries, indoor air pollution is also a problem. Common indoor air pollutants in developed countries include asbestos, radon, and mold. Choose 2 of the 3 common indoor air pollutants listed above and complete the following table. So I really wish I could complete this with you guys, but I don't think my laptop is going to cooperate. It was not working earlier, but actually this might work. Let's see, can I take away this toolbar? Maybe, actually this might work. This might work. What if I do this and then can I collapse this somehow? Maybe not. That might not work, but it'll be fine. You guys can see what we're doing by completing this chart. So let's see, indoor air pollutant 1, and then let's just say indoor air pollutant 2, and then I'm going to drag these places so you can actually write on them. So whatever you guys say in the chat, I'm going to put in these boxes, okay? Okay, all right. So indoor air pollutant, describe the source. So, it just says identify a source. So Rhea says asbestos. So indoor air pollutant 1 is going to be asbestos. Except I think I actually spelled that wrong, but we're not going to talk about that. She said old insulation. So we have identified a source. You would write this in a complete sentence on the real AP exam, but I'm doing this quickly. So Tanya even elaborated with asbestos and said floors and walls. Floors, walls, and attics. Very specific there. You just have to make that a complete sentence to get the point on the AP exam, because everything that you write for the AP exam has to be in complete sentences, especially this year since you get to type it. Everything needs to be in complete sentences. Okay. So, Harper actually said that first. So if you're watching the replay, Harper said it before Tanya. All right. So Tanya also said radon and heaters. So radon. To be more specific, I'll say, what are those called? Space heaters, like the ones that you have in apartments. I think that's what they're called. I realized I have the rubric right in front of me, so I could check. Oh yeah, space heater sealing, like the sealant. There you go. Right, so everybody's learning. I think I've got those. So does anybody want to help me describe a method for reducing exposure? We're going to have to make these a little bit smaller. Just so we can actually type in these. So, does anybody have a method for reducing exposure? So I'm just going to copy paste this time because that might be easier. For asbestos or radon, does anybody have a method for reducing exposure? So this is what Tanya said. So obviously you would have to elaborate more than this on the real AP exam. Using a fireplace, you might want to say an electric fireplace instead of gas, because gas fireplaces can have their own different indoor air pollutants if you don't use like the flue on it right or something. And then this would, to limit the using of space heaters in small apartments. Sorry, I'm typing so slow. I'm like trying to look at 2 screens and type on a keyboard, so it's very hard. This is not my usual typing speed. So Harper says for asbestos, you can get rid of anything that's been contaminated by it. Good job, Harper. So I like that response. It's good. Get rid of anything contaminated by the asbestos. So the thing about that is the removal of asbestos has to be done very safely. And a lot of old schools, asbestos was used in the insulation because it used to be really cheap. But you have to have like really strict safety procedures about removing the asbestos, because when you move the asbestos, that's when it actually becomes an indoor air pollutant. When the asbestos is just in the insulation, it doesn't usually affect anybody until it's tampered with. And when you remove it, you have to be safe when you remove it. So basically, have a specialized removal of the asbestos take place. Definitely capitalized some things wrong, but it's been fixed. Don't worry. Obviously, we'd write another sentence about that on the real AP exam, but you know, this is good. This is how we could fill in this chart if this were the real AP exam. You know, trying to get you to see my mouse right here, but this chart looks good. We're done with the FRQ. Oh, congrats, we finished. This one was a 15-minute FRQ, and while we were working on it together discussing, we only spent 30 minutes. So you guys can definitely finish this in enough time. Thank you guys for participating. Now, do you guys have any questions? I'm going to fix this to say reviewing the 2018 questions, because that's really been annoying. Okay. Any questions about APES? Tanya says, can we practice another one? I don't have one picked out, but I can get one picked out in about 5 seconds. Let's see if this will work. Hopefully this works. Oh, it'll work, yes. That Unit 1 one is not really like a design and environmental solution. It's not an FRQ like that. That one's kind of more just general. Like that's not a design and that's not a design a solution FRQ. On the old exam, they didn't actually have like these special methods that we have this year. So it's not really applicable for this year. But don't worry, I have a ton of FRQs here. Do you guys want to look at another proposed environmental solution one? You know what, here, I'll let you guys pick. Do you want to look at one from Unit 3, 4, 5, or 7? 3, 4, 5, or 7? So I have people all over the place. Let's see. Would you guys rather do the proposed environmental solution, or would you rather do the investigation? Which one? That'll decide whether we do a Unit 4 or 5. So, okay. Basically, I'm going to just stop on one and hope that I like it. So this one is going to be a proposed environmental solution for soil. So I'm going to have to zoom out just a little bit, just so you guys can actually see it. Can you guys read that good? Okay. If you guys have any APES questions, put them in the chat, and I will stay in the chat and answer them, like type them as I'm going over this FRQ. I'll try to catch them at the end of the stream, but if I don't catch them, I'll be reviewing the chat, and I can actually email you guys back responses through Crowdcast. It's a new skill that I've learned, so, you know, learning things every day. We all learn something new every stream. Can we answer as we come up with them? Yeah, sure. But looking at this FRQ, this one is a reduced format, and I'm actually glad you kind of said you wanted to look at the soil unit a little bit because, you know, this one's a shorter one. So here we have, as the world's population increases and availability of new arable land decreases, providing sufficient food for the world's human population is becoming increasingly difficult. Does anybody know who came up with the theory that human population will outgrow the available arable land that we have, the amount of food? So this person said that population grows exponentially, but the production of food only grows linearly. Does anybody know who said that? Like what theory that is? Does anybody know who came up with that? You probably knew this if you took AP Human Geography. Oh crap, my water bottle fell down. Give me 1 second to grab it. Sorry guys, I'm back. Water bottle fell off my desk. Almost had an emergency. So nobody knows that was Thomas Malthus. Malthusian theory says that, you know, human population will outgrow food supply. So the table shows the predicted area of the land needed to feed the world's population from 1900 projected to the year 2060. So we don't really need this chart because the math was parts A and B of this FRQ, so I kind of took that out. But it says soil quality is a critical factor in agriculture. Identify 2 chemical or physical tests of soils and describe the role of each property in determining soil quality. So Tanya already answered it, and she says 2 properties are pH level and silt level found in the soil. Perfect. Now with pH level, you could test the acidity of the soil to see if crops will actually grow in the soil or if they'll just die because they can't get nutrients. And you can also see with the silt level how much, that could be a physical test. So you could look at like particle by size, like you could do that feel by size test if you know what I'm talking about, that a lot of farmers do. And you could look at the particle size test. So instead of calling it the silt level test on the AP exam, Tanya, if we have a question like this, you might want to call it the particle size test. Like, I think it's called feel by particle size or something. You probably remember it better than I do because this was last year, but great identification. I helped you out with the describe. Perfect. You know, thanks for sharing each other on in the chat. Makes this a lot more entertaining to watch. So part D says describe 2 viable strategies for reducing the amount of land needed for agriculture. So I'm going to explain how to do part D right now. Don't do it in the chat for me. What I want you guys to do is pick part EI or part EII. So part E1 or E2. I want you guys to describe how salinization occurs. One of you take that, and then the proposed environmental solution part of this FRQ is to describe 1 method to prevent or remediate soil salinization. I want you guys to do that. Sorry, Tanya, but I'm going to come up with your viable strategies for reducing the amount of land needed for agriculture. So you guys come up with answers to part E in the chat. I don't care if you do the same one. I would love to see different, you know, opinions and stuff. But I'm going to describe while you guys are thinking. You don't have to participate if you don't want to either. I can do I can just do part E2, but I would love to see you guys doing it. So let's see. So I'm going to describe 2 viable strategies. So this is, I have to come up with 2 things that could actually work. I can't just say, grow another Earth. That's not a viable strategy. I can't just say, use the land on Mars, because that's not a viable strategy. But let's see. So I could say I could increase crop yield by increasing the amount of GMOs in agriculture. That could have different bad things associated with it, but it's a viable strategy. Use more GMOs in agriculture to have increasing crop yields. I could also talk about improving genetically modified technology. Or I could use more effective pesticides and fertilizers like integrated pest management, IPM, to reduce the amount of land needed for agriculture, because if I have less failing crops from the excessive use of chemical pesticides and I just use IPM with biological control, a little bit of chemical control, and some soil aspects, I can increase the amount of, good crops that I'm getting from a piece of land. So those are two viable strategies that I've just described in words. Now, does anybody want to answer part EII or EI? I'll let you guys have a second to finish answering it in the chat, but I kind of want to start discussing it soon. We have about 10 minutes left before I have to finish up the stream. Sadly, I have a class at 3. I know I can't go over with this stream, but sucks to have online school. So Tanya answered. She tried. We'll see. Soil salinization occurs when soil is deprived of nutrients. Okay. I kind of like it. It's just not like descriptive enough. If anybody else is working on EI, keep working. I'll see if you can come up with something a little bit more specific or, just specialized for soil salinization, because a lot of things happen when soil is deprived of nutrients. So it's technically right. It's just not specific enough for the AP exam. Somebody else can try EI if they want. But Tanya says, one method is crop rotation, which is used for rotating crops between fields to keep the soil from being deprived of nutrients. So let me see. Let's pull up the rubric. Was that an acceptable solution? Okay, Alondra and Harper both did EI, so hopefully I'll like one or maybe both of those. Oh, yep, crop rotation is a viable strategy as long as you describe what crop rotation is and then put a sentence about how it helps. So Tanya, you got 1 point for what you did? 1 out of 2 points? Pretty great. Oh, yeah, soil salinization is kind of like, it's a little skipped sometimes, but it's definitely something that you can design an investigation about for soil. There was also that one, about environmental solutions. This one is kind of an older FRQ. This one is from 2011, long time ago, so they kind of changed the key topics that you need to know, but it's still a good practice FRQ. No, I think it's about to drop me. Okay. So let's see. Harper says, EI, the process of salts accumulating in the soil as they rise to the surface through evaporation. Yes. Evaporation of irrigation water from the top layer of the soil can draw water up deeper in the soil column. If shallow ground contains salts, possibly from saltwater encroachment, the salts will wick to the surface. That's just using a lot of fancy words that I don't even understand. Harper, you're right. Perfect. Got the point. Let's look at Alondra. Alondra said, salinization occurs when the increase of salt concentration in the soil. It can be caused by flooding by seawater. Yep. Salts applied. No, wait, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Yes. When excess rain occurs near a saltwater body of water, when excess rain occurs near a saltwater body, near a body of salt water, there we go, extra soil can accumulate in soil once water evaporates away. So both of you got it. Boom. You guys both got the 1 point for what you tried. Good job. All of you got 1 point for what you did. So be proud of yourselves. Thank you, Alondra, Harper. Thank you, Alondra, Harper, and Tanya for participating. Sorry I butchered your name, Harper, like 3 times, even though it's one of the most common names in, America. Let's see. My teacher never went over this. Sorry, Alondra was more descriptive. Thank you to both of you. Good job. Yeah, good job, everyone. I was going to Google it. Yeah, you can Google it for the exam. I mean, they're not saying you can't do that this year. They're saying you can Google things if you want the Google definition, but just don't copy paste it. Don't rely on that only. Try to study it on your own. But if you just don't know what soil salinization is the day of the exam, it's okay. The College Board says you can Google it, just don't rely on Google for your answer. All right, I want to go back to our presentation right here. So going over another FRQ with you guys, pretty great. Great job, guys. So let me present this again. All right, so any final questions? I hope that I really helped you guys. This is supposed to be a continuation of the Instagram live from yesterday, but I don't recognize anybody's Instagram username from who's here today, so maybe that didn't work out well. But, you know, I tried. So let's see. Harper, Tanya, WC, Ben, Rhea, Alondra, Maribel, and Roshan are still with us. Yes, thank you guys for coming. I hope that I was very helpful to all of you. No. Okay, Harper says, just want to say thank you and thanks everybody who participated. Yes, thank you guys for coming, and especially, like, I understand some of you were doing other schoolwork or were in another Google Meet or Microsoft Team or Zoom or WebEx or Citrix session, whatever with your teachers. You just had me on in the background. That's perfectly fine. Want to say thank you again to those of you who have participated. Let's see. I know that I saw Rhea, Roshan, Tanya, Harper, Alondra. I know I saw you guys in the chat more than once each. Let me see. I don't think that I'm missing anybody. Actually, I think I am, but you know, I probably saw other people, but those are just the people that I saw more than once. So great job, guys. This is like a 10-minute chat log to read. Alondra, I'm going to try to post my Instagram live video. We're working on a solution for it right now. I just don't know because it's like a 60-minute video. So it's going to take a long time to upload anyways. But, you know, Instagram was just making it excessively difficult to export it. Thank you guys for coming. Yes, thank you for participating. Thank you guys for learning about soil salinization. I'm glad you learned something besides how to write an FRQ. You know, you guys make me do this. Oh no, Alondra also asked if I was going to post the Instagram live video right here, Tanya. I would share my screen, but I think that like makes me go into like a black hole. So yeah, thank you guys for coming so much again. Thank you for posting in the chat again. But, you know, this was a great session today. Hope you guys learned a lot. I got to review some material too. Went to some random FRQs that I didn't even know. So yeah. I hope that you guys had a great time today, learned, had fun too. But make sure you watch Cram Session, other APE streams. Okay, you can find FRQs, but let me give you this link. I'm putting it in the chat right now as long as I can actually type. I think that this is it. I made like a bit.ly link with a few FRQs that are like made for this year's exam format. Nope, I lied. That's not the bit link. It's this one. Oh my gosh. It's the second one. Don't use the first one. Ah. Oh, and that one's also wrong because I can't type. Nope. I lied again. bit.ly-5able APES FRQ. This one should be it. Yes, that one is it. Thank you. That is a Google Doc with 6 FRQs chosen. There are 4 FRQ number 2s and there are 2 FRQ number 1s. So, you know, hopefully you guys can practice with that. I saw that 2 of you just hopped onto the document. I have an anonymous Minx and I have an anonymous Axolotl from this page. So you guys can look over those. I tried to put the year on like at the bottom of the page with it so you guys could type in define the scoring guidelines. Let me show you how to do that. You can just Google APES FRQ and then say 2011 scoring guidelines like I just did. Why is it not switching? There we go. So I just typed this into Google and the first thing that pops up is the PDF with the scoring guidelines. You do have to make sure that you find the right question, though, because from 2011, I think I used question 4 for my example. Maybe not. Yes, I used question 4 from 2011. That's the one we just looked at about soil salinization. So make sure you find the question number and make sure you find the correct answers. Check your answers. I hope that you guys learned something, learned how to find some FRQs. I hope that you guys can come back to the 2019 session, which is going to be next Wednesday, which is May 6th. But I have to go now. Thank you guys so much for coming. It's been a great time. So, bye, guys.